Do you ever need to create a sequence of numbers, like maybe a list of order numbers or a list of part numbers? In this episode, I want to show you two ways of doing it, as a one-shot method using Excel's AutoFill feature, and dynamically using the sequence function. So let's take a look, see how it works. Let's take a look at this worksheet. We have order info coming in and see people's names and what they ordered and how much and all that, but we don't have any order numbers. And you can see we've got 200 rows. I'm just going to control down arrow, get to the bottom, so you can see we've got all that. Let's go back up to the top. So what we want to do is start up there at the top of column A and just count, 1 to 200. Now, if I started doing it like this and manually, well, I'm going to be there for quite a while, so I don't want to do that. I want to use AutoFill. Now, you might be familiar with AutoFill when it copies formulas, like in column H, right? We've got this formula and we can AutoFill down. That's great. But you could also use AutoFill to increment numbers. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to enter a 1 up there. And if I get the AutoFill dot and start dragging down, all I get are a bunch of 1s. So that's not very helpful. Let me undo that. So what I'm going to do is when I get that AutoFill crosshair, I'm going to hold down the Control key in Windows or the Option key on the Mac, and notice when I do that, it increments by 1. So let's start up here again, and I'll hold down the key and go down. If I had only 1 or 2 dozen rows, it would be pretty easy. 200 rows, gets a little tedious. It's doable. That's about as far as you'd want to go doing AutoFill. Imagine if you had 50,000 rows. Imagine if you had 275,000 rows, whatever. Doing this with the AutoFill manually, that would be kind of difficult. So there's got to be an easier way. Yes, there is. Let me just undo all of that. So I want to show you the easier way. That is using the sequence function. And the sequence function is available in both the Windows and Mac editions of Excel 365. So let me show you the syntax here. Say equals sequence, and there's only one required argument, which is the number of rows. There's 3 other arguments, they're optional, and I'm going to show them all to you. But as a simple example, if I just wanted 20 rows, I would say equals sequence 20. Let's go put that to some use here. So I'm going to start there at the top of column A, and I'm going to say equals sequence. Notice as I type the first 3 letters, the syntax helper comes up there so I know that function is available. I'll just hit the tab key, and I want 200 rows. So all I have to do is sequence 200 in parenthesis. I hit enter, and boom, there it is. Let's go down to the bottom. And there we go. It's filled in 200 rows. By the way, this is a spell function. You may have noticed that. When I click the first cell, the cell where I typed in the function, you can see in the formula bar it looks normal. If I click any of the other cells there, you can see the formula is grayed out. And we also have that kind of border around it. Okay, so let's kick this up a notch. What if we didn't want to start at 1? Maybe we want to start at 100 or something like that. Let's go and put in the sequence function again here. And I'm going to say, yeah, I do want 200 rows, but as I said, I want to start at 100. Now, the second argument, you might notice in the little argument help here in the syntax help, is for columns. Let's leave columns for the end. So I'm going to leave that blank. I'm going to put in a second comma. And I want to start at 100, close off the parenthesis, enter. So I'm going to get 200 rows. I'm going to start with 100, and that's exactly what it does. It starts with 100 and goes down from there. Let's go to the bottom. And there we are. Well, let's kick this up another notch. I'm just going to double-click that cell to edit it. I don't have to redo the whole thing. What if, yeah, I still want 200 rows. I still want to start at 100, but instead of incrementing each row by 1, I want to increment each row by 10. So I'm going to click there after that 100, put in a comma, and you see the syntax help is telling me that's what the step is. So I want to step by 10, enter it, and now you can see we're 100, 110, 120, etc., all the way down to the bottom. Each one is by 10. Okay, so at this point, we've used 3 of the 4 arguments, right? We're doing 200 rows, starting at 100, incrementing by 10, but we've got that missing parameter, that missing argument. How many columns do we want? So rather than doing it here, I'm going to do this on a new blank sheet. So I've got a blank sheet down there. So what I want to do is have 30 rows. I just want to keep it short for the purposes of this demo, but I want to snake across 4 columns, come down to the next row, snake across 4 columns, come down to the next row, and so on and so on. So put in the sequence function. So I want 30 rows, comma, and since I want to snake across 4 columns, I'm going to put in a 4. And let's say I want to start at 100, like that, and enter. So I'm going 100 to 103, snake to 104 to 107 to 108, etc., just down 30 rows until I get to the end. Now, let's say I decide that I want this to be all even numbers, right? Because right now we're just incrementing by 1, so we have odd and even. So I'm going to just double-click the formula there, and last argument, I'm going to say step by 2. So now I've got 100, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, etc., all the way down to the bottom there. And these are all even numbers. I really have no idea in what circumstance you would want to snake the sequence across multiple columns like this. But I guess enough people wanted the feature that Microsoft included it, or maybe the developers figured, hey, as long as we're creating the function, we might as well. Somebody might want it one day. Why the heck not? I really don't know. So, until next time, my name is Bob, and this has been Between the Sheets.